welcome to our little chit chat. I think one of the things that I want to know is kind of in one statement, what is Aspire to Grow?
It's a unique solution from a group of people who are trying to be a good SME for an SME, if I was to sum it up. I think there's a lot of good companies or good businesses out there that just needs help in some of the key components of growing a business, and we believe that some of the key components are recruitment, operations, and finance.
Okay. So what inspired you to start Aspire to Grow? What was that situation?
What was the kickstart? I suppose it was quite a long time ago, actually, about 13, 14 years ago. I was working for a large insurance broker called Willis. They're now known as Willis Towers Watson, big consultancy. And I was asked to do a recruitment best practice session for a group of directors, because ultimately they had never been given any training in recruitment ever before. And so I laid on a sort of day of what you should and shouldn't do in recruitment. So do's and don'ts in questions that you should be asking, what you shouldn't be asking in an interview, how you should prep an interview similar to this, how you make sure that the interview is in an environment. There was lots of different aspects. And so I spent a whole day with them. And at the end of the day, one of the directors came to me and said, "Oh, you know what? This would be amazing if you could do this for my network of brokers." So basically, there was hundreds of these brokers that use Willis as access to an insurance market, and they're all small businesses. They're all very small, from two-man band to 40, 50 people in size. And she thought they would really value having someone like me explain the sort of recruitment content, how you should do recruitment. So I laid on this amazing day, I would say, and the feedback I got from that was, oh my God, I would love to have that sort of support to help me grow my business. So on the back of that, I had a chat with the managing director and said, look, if I set up a company where I am basically available to your business leads, your network business leads, to where they can come to me for recruitment, what do you think? And collectively, between me and this director, we came up with Aspire to Grow.
Okay. So how does the cost of, getting that in-house versus kind of hiring you compare?
So, I mean, if you look at a large business, when you get to a certain size and you have so much recruitment, there's a tipping point where actually it's more beneficial for you to have an in-house recruiter than it is to have your HR director who's got no recruitment skills do recruitment. Or it might be that you're spending a lot of money on recruitment agencies and all you're getting for your value of money there is a pass-on CV service from an agency. They don't really offer you too much apart from, here you go, here's a great candidate, why don't you interview them? But it's sort of on you to make decisions around recruitment. And I think that's where people struggle, is everyone thinks they're brilliant at recruitment, but ultimately most people aren't.
Yes.
So for me, it's about saying to someone, right, rather than paying a recruitment agency, which typically are around 15 to 20% on average, it can differ, but let's say 15% of an average salary of 30 grand, you're paying 4,500 just to have a CV passed to you. And then it's your responsibility to make the decision of whether that person's right or wrong. Well, actually, the true cost of recruitment isn't the agency fee. It's actually if you get someone in and you get it wrong, the amount of time and effort, the time, your time that you spent on bringing that person in, the onboarding, and then maybe if that person comes in and there's a real problem, the impact of trying to get that person out of the business, the cost, and then having to do it all over again. So the true cost of recruitment is never just your initial advert cost or your agency cost. It's the whole cost. And they reckon on average it's about £30,000 to hire someone these days. So if you take the concept that every time you hire someone it's costing you £30,000, you want to get it right.
You're going to save a lot of money, aren't you?
Exactly. Yes. So the concept of Aspire to Grow originally born out of the idea that rather than having someone who's not very good at recruitment doing recruitment for you, employ me or employ Aspire to Grow. We will be your recruitment experts when you need us.
Yeah, so people are going to save a lot of money.
Yeah, I would hope so. Yeah, in the longer term, yeah, for sure.
So what would you say your like core mission statement is at Aspire to Grow?
Our core mission statement is to offer a solution. A bunch. I mean, it's got on from just being recruitment now. So obviously, my expertise is recruitment, but my partner, who works in operations, has worked in operations for 25 years. She's an operations director, so she offers the operations aspect. And then my brother, who's a finance director for many, many years, he's also now coming together, and that's how we collectively now it's recruitment, operations, and finance. So our sort of statement, I guess, is we're recruitment directors available to businesses when they need us. And then when we don't need us, we go away. So you're not having to pay the cost of a recruitment director, operation director, and a finance director full time. You're only paying for our costs when you need us. So you get the benefit of having those quality resources when you need us. That's how I would sort of explain it.
Okay, so in one statement, what is the problem you solve?
The problem we solve in one statement is we bridge people's potential from where they are, to the potential. We take them from where they are now and get them to where they need to be.
Okay, nice. Okay, so what's the ideal customer profile?
For me, I think the sort of organisations that would benefit from us most are people who are in that early growth stage. They have established themselves to a certain level and are now looking to take that next step up. Probably staff size is probably anything from around 5 or 10 staff to about 100. So these people have probably not got, they're not recruiting enough to employ someone full time. Maybe they've not really thought about the operational efficiency issues that they've got going on in their organisation. Or ultimately, it could be that they're using an accountant who is just providing a transactional service. And actually what we can do is offer them, more than that, an actual, financial strategy in essence.
Mm-hmm. Why SMEs specifically?
SMEs it's probably more to do with the fact that when they get to a certain, it's probably more on the small side than the medium side, to be frankly honest. The S rather than the M.
And this is in the UK, right?
Yeah, we're focusing primarily in the Northwest to start with, because I think it's really important that we build relationships and rapport with people. So, we can, we're happy to work with anyone across the UK, but our focus initially is going to be the Northwest, because what we want to do is build, a strong foundations, relationships with businesses that can, we can help them grow. I mean, the whole concept of Aspire to Grow, that's where it's born from. It's to aspire to grow. Yes. I love the word aspire. I don't know why it just dawned on me how wonderful that word means. If you think about desire is to obtain, aspire is to achieve. So I love the idea of helping a business achieve their objectives of growing. Yes. And so if that's the concept of how Aspire to Grow came about, really.
Okay.
So SMEs are, for me, are at that aspire stage. They're aspiring to get to the next level. That's why.
So what sets you apart from the competition?
Well, firstly, our competition doesn't seem to be collective in the way that we're set up. I find that our competition tends to be in the recruitment sector. It's probably more recruitment agencies, and I don't think we do that. We're not we offer a recruitment agency service, but we're not necessarily a recruitment agency. In the operations, you're looking at operation consultants, and then in finance, it's your traditional accountants. So what we've done is sort of wrap that all together as one business and said, actually, you could come to us and offer us, any of these three sectors. Really, we can help you with it.
And what would you say one thing that really sets you apart from other consultancies, if you were to name a single thing?
I think genuine. I think we're genuine. We're not chasing the bottom line. We're not chasing money. There's a genuine appetite to want to help businesses grow, and by helping them grow, it helps us grow, and then it's a symbolic relationship. We can prosper from our clients prospering, and so our growth and potential and opportunities based upon theirs. So if they're doing great, we're doing great, and that's what we want to do.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say is like one thing you've been through which kind of shows how genuine you are in business? You know, is there a story?
Yeah, I'm glad you prompted me with that. So, the Aspire to Grow was, when it really started to form in my mind is when I was working at Willis, there was that process I told you about. But what was underpinned by that is there was a gentleman called Tony. He was a regional director for Willis up in Leeds at the time. He was a good guy, performing really well. He was probably, of all the regions, they were like second or third constantly in sales. They were generally seen as a good region. But he was almost seen as a satellite office. He just did his own thing. He wasn't part of the bigger group. And then when the managing director came to me and said, look, Gary, is there anything you can do to help him, come a part of that group, be involved a lot more? And what was clear to us is that he had a real core sort of staff members who were really good, but he had a real turnover problem. There was lots of people leaving all the time. So there was obviously an issue there, but we couldn't quite put our finger on it. So Leeds is a second home to me. My brother lives there. I went to uni there. So going up to Leeds was not a problem for me. In fact, the thought of going there was brilliant. Yes. And it was the first time really Tony had it. I was living in London at the time, and everyone in the support function were based in London. So Tony just felt like London was London and Leeds is Leeds, and he was on his own. He had to do his own thing, etc. So no one really supported him. So I started going up there. He really bought into the idea that all of a sudden this person from London's there regularly, and he really bought into the idea. He had turnover issues. He had his style. This is typical the problem that I'm trying to achieve, really. He thought he was good at everything. He thought he was a good recruiter. He thought he was a good people manager. He thought he was a good marketer. He was good at everything. He didn't like to show any vulnerabilities. And so I basically, after building a rapport with him over a couple of months, said to him, look, Tony, next time we have recruitment, do it my way, right? Yeah. If you don't like it, we will never do it, and I'll just tell everyone, your MD, I'll tell your boss that you're doing things brilliant and you don't need any help. And he thought, oh, yeah, I like that. You know what I mean? I like that idea. So anyway, we did it my way. And what I mean by that is we did it by the book, recruitment. We wrote the job description correctly. We did an assessment day. We did a real structured recruitment process. And I remember partway through the process, I said to him, Tony, based upon where we are now, who would you pick of these 5 candidates, etc.? And he went, oh, that one definitely. He's got 20 years experience. He was brilliant, da-da-da. And he was like adamant that person would be the successful candidate at the end of the process. That was before the process started. And actually, we went through a competency-based interview. We did assessments, like technical assessments. We did a whole shebang of recruitment processes. And without going into too much detail, at the end of the process, his candidate was the worst. It was the worst candidate, and he saw it.
Clear then, the results.
Yeah, because he'd never recruited in the way that he should have done. He did recruitment the way most people does, is sit down with someone, ask them a couple of questions that are technically focused. Oh, he's technically good. Oh, he supports Man United. I support Man United. I'll employ him because I like him. And that's what people do. That's where a lot of people make mistakes. Recruitment is not about hiring someone who's your best friend. It's recruiting who's the right person for the job.
So recruitment's about not being biased, right?
Exactly.
It's like
it's
that's the biggest challenge.
The biggest challenge is when going into an interview process is being completely open-minded about who is the right person for the role and picking them on the right reasons. We don't, right? The one thing that I live by and the one thing that I always stress to anyone that I meet is you can train skills, but you can't train attitude. So if you employ someone based upon attitude, you can empower them or you could train them with the skills that you need. Yes. If they've got the right attitude, they will fly. And a lot of people, when they come to recruiting, they don't do that. They train people or they take people because that's the easy option for me. That person's worked in my industry for 10 years. I'll bring him on board because I don't have to do much.
And the thing is, if somebody is good at learning to learn,
exactly,
then they can do most things. But
yeah.
If somebody is like, if they've practiced within one very niche field,
they haven't got the variety.
They may be great at that niche field, but are they good at learning to be in another niche field? Well, maybe not.
No.
And so just because on paper they look good doesn't mean...
Exactly that. And so Tony was a great example of someone who did it his way, had always done it his way, 20-odd years. He's a mature guy. He wasn't young. He'd always done recruitment the same way. And typically what he would normally do is he would bring them in for a chat. He'd basically have that gut feel, like most people will say, oh, I've got this gut feel, he's a nice guy, I think he'd be a good job, he's got 10 years, blah, blah, blah. And then I took him out for a beer.
Yeah.
And if I liked him, then I'd offer him a job. And it was the most unprofessional way to do recruitment, right? Recruitment should be done, about managing expectations. It's about saying, this is what the job will be. This is what I want you to do, achieved, etc., etc. And it's about setting that expectations. And I think that's where a lot of companies go wrong. And I believe that's a common problem that a lot of companies do. And I think, even now as a small business owner myself, I know my limitations. I know that in order for me to achieve, I need experts around me.
Yes, no, I see that. No, I think experts are they're fundamental, and if you can surround yourself with people who are cleverer than yourself,
Yeah,
that is going to help, because then you're going to it humbles you, right, and it keeps you on track. But it takes another kind of person to be able to do that, because it's so easy to go, I want to be the best person in this situation.
Yeah.
But actually, that's not the best thing to be doing. You want to hire people who are the best in the field. You want to be the best in the room.
Yeah.
Because how do you know you're going wrong? You don't have anybody to tell you.
Yeah.
So in terms of like early traction, tell me about like an early traction moment with Aspire to Grow, the point where you where it really started to pick up.
So, unfortunately, when Aspire to Grow was born 15 years ago, it just wasn't the right time for me. I had small children. My partner at the time was looking to go to university to be a teacher, so I needed to support her. So there needed to be a natural income coming in, and I was the main breadwinner. So I fell back into the traditional, working in the city for a big job, getting paid really well, doing it for a big bank. I did it for someone else. So I had to put Aspire to Grow on hold, but it was gaining traction. I was starting to gain a lot of traction.
You had that idea
the idea was working. It was
you
brilliant.
Have the name then?
Yeah, the name Aspire to Grow is out there.
So it's really been there in the
long
background,
time.
bubbling, and you've just been waiting for the moment to release it.
I spent a lot of money on marketing. I got loads of leaflets, the brands. I spent a lot of money on creating the brand, the logo. Everything was in place, and I had to put it in it, and it made me so sick that I had to go back into the world. I did it for the right reasons. It just wasn't the right time, and so I basically got a lot of traction and started meeting a lot of, at the time it was brokers. I was meeting a lot of network brokers. They were sort of buying into the concept, and I just had to put a hold on it, which was a real shame at the time, but it was the right thing to do on reflection. And actually, if anything, it's allowed me to, over the sort of 10, 15 years since it was born, it's allowed me to solidify what it really is, what else it could be. So when Aspire to Grow was originally born, it was just recruitment, but now it's recruitment, operations, and finance. I think I'm better now for it in terms of the other areas that I've worked in and other sort of markets that I've worked in, the more experience I've earned. So I feel that Aspire to Grow is in a better place now than it was 15 years ago.
So what does growth mean to you? Obviously, we've got Aspire to Grow. Growth is a key word. What does it mean to you? What does it mean to your clients?
I think growth for me would be seeing our clients make, if we just look at the recruitment aspect in particular at the moment, is seeing them hire good people and then take it to the next sort of, they move on and then they bring in more people underneath them. It's showing the business sort of take the incremental steps in growing, and people going in there and making a difference. So we are responsible for making sure that, who they hire is a natural difference to the business.
So that the business is going to change because you're helping get the right people into the right positions, and that's going to influence how well the business operates. And so, in theory, if you guys do a good job, it's just inevitable that they're
going to grow naturally. Yeah. And I think, as I keep referring back to recruitment because that's my field, but on the operations and finance side, is that allowing them, operationally, it's looking at how we can make sure that, as any business grows, there's naturally going to be problems with efficiencies or performance management, or they want to bid for the next big prospect, etc. On the operations side, we want to help them and give them the confidence that they can do that well. And then on the finance side is more around, recognizing that accountancies don't have to be a transactional service. It could be someone that's actually strategically helping you budget for the future and help you with your forecasting and cash flow management, etc. So
So define growth personally. You know, growth in a business is obviously one thing, but like, what's growth to you? Like, how? Yeah, tell me more about that.
Growth for me. Okay, so I'm a believer in sort of learning. I love learning. I'm an appetite for learning all the time. I know that I'm coming into this with, an idea, but ultimately it could be something else. And I'm very open to the idea that Aspire to Grow, what I think it could do and support businesses. It might end up going in a completely different direction. It could be that supporting businesses in a slightly different way. One of the things that I really enjoyed in the roles that I've done previously is going beyond the recruitment and helping people maybe have like a second voice or a view on something. It could be that, I've thought about going out and buying this business. Well, have you thought about doing this instead? I've always felt I'm quite a creative thinker, so I feel I can support people in helping them just think slightly differently and giving them a soundboard. So yes, we're going to be in our place of recruitment, operations and finance, but maybe we can support them in other ways.
Even though you're in a niche, you're very open to the flexibility.
Exactly that. And it might be that they come to us and say, we need help on IT or marketing or whatever. We will help them beyond our
So you're a
verticals.
solution-based
We want to be a solution. We want to be somewhere where they come to us and we provide them a consultative solution. We want collaboration. We want to be able to help that business in whatever capacity it is. Obviously, our free components is our expertise, but doesn't mean we can't go out and find other experts and support them with it.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of early traction, Aspire to Grow, how would you like round this off in the fact that, okay, companies thinking about working with you, what are they, what is one thing you're going to say to that company if you could say it to them?
Well, I would say to them, don't be afraid to come and speak with us. Mm-hmm. We'll chat for free. Mm-hmm. We're happy to sort
Which
of.
is great.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for us to be genuine and for us to be collaborative, we offer a simplistic solution. There's no hidden agendas. There's no obligation. Mm-hmm. We just want to have a chat with people, find out where their issues are or where they perceive their issues are. Our operational arm could go in and do a real full-scale look at how things are performing and pick out the areas that potentially they can improve on. And obviously also let them know where they're doing great, then can't give them the confidence that actually what they're doing there is really good. Carry on doing that. Mm-hmm. And then this is the area maybe you want to focus a little bit more on. We just want to help leaders understand that we are a solution that can support them. And we're genuine people that can offer a collaborative approach. And like I say, we offer a free solution, a free sort of half day, maybe even a day, depending on how people want it to be perceived, where we go in and we talk to them about their business. Great. And we help them. Yeah.
So you're going to help them aspire to grow?
Exactly that.
Brilliant. Thank you.
No worries.